Well, it might be the end of August, but it's not the end of the stream. Coming to you live from the Satlamar Studios is our streaming because we are building.
Yes, we are.
How are you, Hagen?
Every day. I am phantasmic. How are you doing?
Pretty fantastic myself because Halloween just around the corner. So
Just around the corner. Just a whole nother 2 months, essentially. But right around that corner, baby.
There's Halloween spirit installed. We're planning events, planning costumes.
Okay, that's fair.
Right around the corner.
Yeah.
How are you? How's R&D doing? The whole week. So I wonder how you've been working.
A whole week, yes. We are plugging away at various things. One of the most notable things is I'm expanding the ProPiCore software development kit.
So what does that mean?
It's a way to kind of interact with Procore through the back end, not having to use the UI so much. And it's all open source. So my hope is that other people out there in the AEC industry will kind of jump on and use it for their purposes and how they see fit. So I'm slowly advancing it as we need new tools. And we do need new tools. But I won't tell you what we're going to do with Procore, but it's pretty exciting.
It's pretty exciting.
And then we're getting into the bot world in the sense of like controlling your UI, your user interface, your mouse and your keyboard to do various things. And so I was able to export reports from Viewpoint. So if anyone out there wants to automate exports from Viewpoint, just let me know. We can get that done.
Might come back to you then.
Yeah. Anything that involves your mouse and keyboard, we can just clicky around.
Click away.
And it's pretty...
I had a meeting with our very own OPEX, Lacey Williams, last week, trying to pull reports for the VDC department.
There you go. A little golf clap for you.
That's what it is. Oh, I thought it was someone tippy-tapping away across the office.
It could be. There's a lot of noise out there. But they could really be quiet, couldn't they?
But actually, I had on my little to-do list to schedule a meeting with R&D. Well, I heard you were the one creating a tappy.
Tappy, yeah. So if you need tappy-tappies, just let me know.
I need tappy-tappies.
Tappy-tappies.
We'll tappy away.
Tappy. And then last thing, I learned that Todd, and this kind of ties into the whole Todd Wynn.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that guy. Hey, he's talking at Procore. I didn't know this. He's talking about AI tools in the AEC industry. So if you haven't signed...
Are you going?
I'm not. But if you haven't signed up for that session, which one of your... Well, if you haven't signed up for that session, you should. It'll be really interesting, I think. And so there's just a lot of... we were kind of looking at tools earlier today, and there's just a lot out there. So there's actually a website called... There's an AI for that.com. Mm-hmm. It's pretty awesome. You just type in...
That's what the website's called?
Yeah, there's an AI for that.com. There's an AI for that.com. And you just type in what you want to find, and it tells you there's an AI for that. So from anything from personal to kind of, future thing, or career things.
Oh,
it's gotcha.
Did you know Todd also spoke last year at Procore?
I didn't, but I could have assumed that probably.
Could have done your research. Here we go again.
Sorry.
No research.
Yeah, no research. But what about you in the RO and the VDC world?
It's pretty well. I mean, nothing too crazy. Just finalizing something. We do have our quarterly meeting coming up, so just kind of setting up for that.
Nice. Oh gosh, yeah.
Prep. I know it's already almost September.
Yeah.
In a couple...
Very, very close. In a couple hours.
Is it today?
It might be today.
It might be today.
No, it's not.
But apart from that, we do have I don't know if you partake it of Courtney Bain's marketing branding class.
I did not know. I heard it was very good though.
It was very informative, pretty fun. Got to guess logos and based on the colors and shapes and
really. There used to be a little app for that, a little game.
Well, I know there's an AI for that as well.
There probably is. Yeah, actually.
You should look it up. Okay. But after this training, they also shared an email showcasing the new branding guidelines.
I did read that one.
Finally, this is reading. So if you ever curious about how to brand things up with things you're creating, I know you're creating R&D's creating a lot of things.
Yes.
Something you can reference so you can stay consistent throughout all our processes, products, and tools.
I got that red hexadecimal memorized. C41230, baby.
Let's go.
That's right.
You know the font preference?
Trump Sand. It's Trump something.
Pro, I think.
Something like that.
Definitely need to read. Wow. Definitely need to read those guidelines.
Yeah.
But that's kind of pretty cool because I know, brand's a big deal because that's kind of our image. So
Yeah,
pretty
absolutely.
cool to see that our kind of what it is, but can continue to become a very universal, hopefully, brand. So
Across Texas, yeah.
So make sure if you haven't, check out that email and check out all the branding news about it.
And who sent that email, just as a reminder?
RO Communications.
RO Communications. Ah, yes. The ones you have to read.
You have to read.
Yes.
But you know what else we have to do in this show?
Segments.
We got to spin the wheel.
Yay! We've got
very
our
own
own
handicap boy.
Cesar
Spin the wheel for
Gonzalez
us,
back
please.
there wearing his boot, hence the handicap. Just wanna
Whenever
be
you're
clear on
ready,
that.
sir.
He didn't like break his leg or anything. He's just
And I put my glasses on today, so I know that says
in this week in history.
in
yes.
this week.
Woohoo! I love this segment.
I know you do.
So this past week in history, let's dive into history. This one's pretty cool because we're going back to 79, year 79.
Ever.
Well, after
long
Christ,
ago.
or AD, or CE. Now it's
CE.
the correct
Oh, they changed it?
current era, something like that. I had to look it up myself. Anywho, Mount Vesuvius erupts.
That's how you say it.
Not very exciting, or well, it is exciting, but
I thought you liked this one.
I just like that it was so old. But it's very sad.
Not as old as James, though.
Heyo,
Heyo.
where's the
Brr.
Is he gonna do it? He can't find it. There we go. In 1821, Mexico gained its independence from Spain.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah. I thought this one. I didn't know this one. This one's pretty interesting. In 1835, the Sun, newspaper in New
Our
York,
Sun?
I believe. No, the Sun. It's a
Like the
it's
Universal.
it's a magazine
Like-
newspaper. It's
like
a newspaper.
The Star?
The Sun. Yeah. No, just called the Sun. But on that note, they gave false accounts that a British astronomer had observed life on the moon, quoting that he had seen winged human creatures at 4 feet tall.
I believe it. I mean, you saw Colby's episode last week.
It could happen.
Whoa. Aliens?
Yeah,
Wow.
they could. And they never retracted their
We're out of control over there.
too many noises. They actually never retracted their stories, so that
it is true?
they never said they were lying. But do you know the name of this scandal?
The Lucifer scandal.
No, the Great Moon hoax.
Oh.
It's not nearly as exciting as what you
It's
just
not.
said. No. In 1893, the first patent for a clasp locker was developed. Do you know what this clasp locker evolved into?
Necklace.
No, a zipper.
Oh.
A zipper.
Interesting.
In 1916, Woodrow Wilson signed the Organic Act. Do you know which organization this act established? It's not the one you might think.
Food.
No, exactly. The National Park Service, actually.
Oh. Do you know what this Organic Act does?
No, but it established the National Park Service.
Goodness.
There's a lot of stuff I got to look up. In 1939, the first jet flight. Do you know which country developed the first? I guess successfully.
USA.
No.
Oh,
I guess successfully had the first jet flight. They might have not developed it.
I know. Same response.
But it was the Germans.
The Germans.
In 1944, Paris was liberated from German occupation. Hey-o. Which might be related to that jet engine.
Yeah.
In
5 years later.
Yeah. In 1963, the Civil Rights March on Washington and Martin Luther's famous...
Yeah, How I Dream of Speech. I know that answer.
Yep, that's the one. It's actually written there, but okay. In 1997, Netflix was founded as a movie rental service. Did you ever actually rent a movie from Netflix?
No.
Oh.
I use Blockbuster.
Classic.
That's as far as I rented.
Yeah. But I think Netflix would actually send them to you in the mail, which was kind of the whole...
Kind of like the red box
Mhm.
thing outside of pharmacies. Let's see what our audience has to say here.
You didn't have to lead in with that, but I think I still have some of those red-sleeved cases
Nice.
from their original distribution method.
Wow.
Dang. Old Papa John's.
Oh, Papa Jones.
James. Old Papa James.
And then the last one here, Pluto was demoted from its planet status in 2006. Do you know what it's called now? It's not a planet, but you know it's a name that people
Dwarf.
are given. Dwarf planet. Yeah.
There you go.
All right. Yay.
Yeah.
And that's been This
That's
Week
right.
in History. That was very
Ooh,
nice.
This Week in History.
Ooh. We only have a few minutes left here, but let's just kind of skedaddle through the next one. Could we have the wheel, please?
Let's go, booty.
And by booty, he's referring to the boot on his leg, not his rear end.
Oh. It's out of balance.
Oh, there it is.
Aro wins. What?
Wow.
Wow, that's exciting.
That's a good one.
So I'm just going to run through some of these anniversaries we've had. 4 years, Sam Struhall, an assistant PM who you've worked with pretty
I know,
pretty
great
closely.
guy,
Great guy.
Aggie.
Oh, well, somewhat good guy. 5 years, Nolan Reynolds. Do you know Nolan Reynolds? Assistant
Ryan
super
Reynolds.
in Austin. You know Ryan Reynolds. Wow.
Oh, yeah. Great movies.
Great movies. George Hudson, assistant super in San Antonio. On Motivosity, he is just G. Hudson.
Ooh.
No first name, just G. 18 years. Elegio? Is that correct? Elegio Salazar, assistant super in Dallas.
Wow.
And then 22 years,
22.
Mr. Mike Dempsey.
I think he's feeling 22.
Yeah, I'm sure he's feeling 22. Maybe some of his
Wow.
kids might be close to 22. I don't know. But yeah, client relations up here in Austin. Hopefully he doesn't listen to these shows. I might not be here next week. And then lastly, and this one's very important because this is near and dear to our hearts.
Very, very long tenure here.
Yeah, I know. It actually doesn't match his age very much, but
Not really.
7 years.
Dang, that's old.
That's a lot. James Donald Holmes.
Dang.
Woo!
He's ancient.
I don't really know what his title is R&D manager, but I don't know
He's
what he does here.
everything.
Yeah, who knows? But 7 years for our good old James Holmes back there,
Oh, happy
staring us down.
win. Happy
Just
win.
those little eyes over the monitor.
Yeah, great eyes. No wrinkles.
And then just want to highlight one of the projects that we finished up back in 2020, the UNT Eagle Landing Dining Hall. 2-story, 36,000 square foot dining hall with a capacity for 700 people. It's on the screen right there. Wow, look how beautiful.
Wow. Gorgeous.
It's got dining rooms, kitchen spaces, food prep spaces, storage, dishwashing areas, excuse me. It's got 7 unique restaurants in there.
7.
7. And I didn't know this, but UNT is actually one of the leading college campuses for vegan options.
Really?
Yeah. And so I assume there'll be more vegan options, or I assume there are vegan options at this place. So they can continue leading the front in vegan opportunities.
Wow, good for them. 7 restaurants? I'm still at 7 restaurants here.
Yeah, I don't know how that's... We're going to have to take a trip up to Denton.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Let's go. Field trip.
Yeah. But that's been Aro Wins.
Aro wins.
Yeah. And now we've taken way too long in our segments. I apologize. I really wanted to talk. But hey, we're going to introduce our guest.
Who's sitting right next to us.
Yes.
Well, funny you mentioned all of the intro stuff like Procore and kind of doing bots because this guest today, he's very into Procore.
Yeah.
And you might be familiar with some of his ideas. He actually was a winner for one of the challenges.
Yeah, I know.
What was the idea called?
Burn those PTP cards.
That's right. Burn those PTP cards. And then he, in general, he's just a guy that gets the job. I don't know what that was. Get the job done. He's been at 5 years as well. A little kind of started similar times. I've seen him grow. I've seen him do different projects. The one most notably known, I think, for me is the T.A. Brown project. Not only because he was a great super there, but also we did some educational videos with him.
I've seen some of those, yeah.
It was a whole production. I'm sure he'll tell you more about it in this show.
He will. I bet. I bet.
I'm gonna guess he does. But he was a great guy. And then every time you get to work with him, you get to see he's a very experienced and very knowledgeable guy. Just as his beard might show, he's growing some of that whiteness to show his wisdom and expertise.
Absolutely.
And I also didn't know this, but also learned he went to A&M.
Oh,
that's what his LinkedIn profile said, at least.
Yeah. His shirt might give some clues away to that as well.
Oh, probably. We can ask him today.
Yeah, we can. We can ask him today.
But I know we're running out of time, but without further ado, he does put the super in superintendent.
Oh, nice.
He does not put the senior in it because he's way more than that.
No.
He's not as old as James.
Right.
But he definitely has that senior knowledge and very super attitude when it comes to being on the field and getting the job done. So it is my pleasure and honor to introduce our very own Thomas Lucas.
Woohoo, Thomas.
Right after this commercial.
That's okay. We can cut that out.
There's still not. Why wouldn't you put a commercial in there?
Why would I put a commercial in there? Commercial's there for
the
switch, swap seats.
Yeah.
Okay,
Right.
sorry
Good there,
about
Mr.
that.
Lucas. All
Yep,
good, not
solid.
a problem. That's the beautiful thing about doing these pre-recorded. We can
Just edit that part out. And it's
little-
like you're still trying to got stuff going on at TC1B in order to get that permit closed out, and still trying to like get 1,300 done, and it's just like it seems like everything wants to go all at once, which is beautiful.
Yeah, that's the way it usually goes, right?
Yeah.
If it wasn't pouring, it wouldn't be raining at all.
Sure.
So for those that don't know, what is your current role here at RO?
I am. Let's see. I have been senior superintendent for 9 months now.
Congratulations. I wasn't
you.
tracking the senior on that.
Yeah. Came at Christmas last year, so it was a good day when I got that bump up. So
Well deserved too. You're definitely
Appreciate
one of
that.
those guys out there. Like you're the type of superintendent that I feel like anyone could go talk to and ask, like, hey, how do I do this thing, or how do I get this done, or I'm having this issue with this trade partner, or whatever the case is.
yeah.
And you're bringing a lot of knowledge in the construction realm to them and communicate it with exceptional efficiency.
Yeah, well, that's the goal, right? I figured out a long time ago that if we're not talking to one another, if we're not communicating, then we're all having to figure out how to do it our own way, and that seems like a lot of effort and a lot of learn by somebody else's possible failures, right? And like that, I did that, it didn't work. Like you can try it if you want to, but I've gone that route, and it didn't go for me. I actually ended up doing this, and I feel like if we like kind of let the ego go and just ask the general question, like, hey, what can I do better here? Then somebody's going to give you an answer. It may not necessarily be the one that you like, but it'll at least solve, maybe save you some headaches and heartaches along the way.
Well, I think it's one thing if you're in service industry or something like that, and it's a mistake means you lost a customer. Like that's a bummer, but probably didn't cause any severe financial damage or loss of life or limb or anything like that. But when we're talking about things in the construction world, that you could have $1 million mistake easily, whether it be something missed in a submittal or something installed improperly, or
Right.
maybe you put a pier in the wrong spot.
Right.
Things happen, and those get expensive quick. So I think finding a way to disseminate that knowledge and, like you said, allow others to learn the lessons from those that have come through before is, I don't think you can stay in business without that.
Right. And I think RO does a great job of giving people the flexibility to go, hey, I messed up and this is how I messed up. So others can learn from that, and they don't promote people, promote the idea of, hey, it's okay to mess up. Like you want to do it right the first time, but in the event that you don't, right? Hey, these are, we all get lessons learned emails, about, hey, this happened. Here's how to do it better. Don't make the same mistake. Right. And I think that's one way that we do a good job of sharing that information. But I think in the field level, superintendents we're very proud individuals. Can be very private people too. I know I messed that up. Maybe I'm not going to tell the whole world about it. But there's a lot of learning in saying, hey, there's a lot of learning that can be done by somebody who's willing to say, hey, I didn't do this great. I could have done it this way, and be okay to move down the road.
And to your point, I'm good with being wrong. I'm good with other people being wrong, but be unpredictably wrong. I don't
Yes,
want to be in a
don't.
scenario where I can say, you're going to screw this up, and I know how you're going to screw it up, and I'm going to tell you how you could prevent it, and you're not going to listen to me.
Right.
That's the one where it's like, no, this isn't going to work.
No, that's where rubber needs to meet the road, and you need to go on down the road and mess up somebody else's job. Right. I want you to be, I want somebody to be wrong as the exception to the rule. I feel like if we take the time to think through like what we're actually doing, I want somebody to be wrong as the exception to their rule, right? I want people to stop and think and consider and really like be able to see I make this decision, and then this is going to happen, and this is going to happen. Probably this is going to happen. Be able to think far enough down the road, the consequences, the ripples of that decision, to know if that's the way that you go. I think sometimes you get so bent up on, I got to go. Schedule says I got to go, that you don't take the time to stop and reflect what the consequences of that knee-jerk reaction is going to be.
Those second and third order effects seem so critical to assess, but at least in my experience, it seems like that's a tough thing to kind of train into somebody without them having the experience. Do you feel like that's the case? Do you think there's some way to kind of turbocharge an assistant super or a QM that wants to be a super so that they can get there a little more quickly?
Man, I don't know. I think that the analytical part of that, the ability to step back and really consider, if I do this, then what are those second, third, fourth tier ripples going to be? I think that really just comes with experience, and you've got to see it. You have to know what the outcome's going to be before it happens. And that only comes with experience. Now you can, if you're paying attention, you may have to experience it yourself, but if you've got your head pulled out and you're actually watching what's going on in front of you as the assistant superintendent, and you're watching that senior or that super or even the senior that's running the job and paying attention to what he's doing and try to emulate that critical thinking that they're doing, then I think you're going to gain that experience faster. But you have to be willing to step out and not just, well, they only told me I had to cover paint and flooring, right? But if you pick your head up and go, well, HVAC is doing this over here, and they were talking about that in the meeting, and you're just a sponge and you try to soak it all up. I think that was the best advice that I got from anybody was, keep your head on a swivel and be a sponge. Ask questions, pay attention, and you're going to glean, the nuggets of truth as you see them played out. Like, well, that guy made that decision and he got that, but it was an ugly way to get there, right? I think I would have rather done it this way, maybe without the yelling, or maybe with the
Where's
yelling.
the fun
I don't
in
know. My version would always go with the yelling when I was younger, but you got to take those nuggets of truth and make them your own to help inform your decisions.
Who'd you get that little bit of wisdom from, or who do you want to credit it to?
That guy's name is Jim Freeman. He was a senior PM at a past company that I worked for. First one that I think recognized that I had some potential. I had hired on with them as an assistant PM. I'd done 2 years in the field as a superintendent, and that was 06 and 07. I worked for that first outfit, and then the market just dried up, right? And so I had been on the road for 2 years, just traveling up and down I-35. I would be home every night, but I would spend 3.5 hours of my day down to San Antonio and back. I did about 2 weeks doing a flip on a Denny's restaurant in Plano. Me and another guy went 24 hours a day for 13 straight and gutted out half of that space, built it back, and turned it over for CO. It was,
oh my goodness.
I'm not sure. I still look back on that one. I'm not exactly sure how that all happened. But anyways, I ended up, the market hit. I saw that there was a posting for an assistant PM. I interviewed for it, and it worked out. But I learned a lot. So that role was the equivalent of our PE and QM, and the superintendent that they had running it was, he had been a superintendent for 40 years at that point.
Oh man.
And so he kind of took me, because I had field experience too. He kind of took me as an assistant superintendent the same. So I was running both sides of the table, both in the trailer. I was writing the RFIs, the submittals, keeping the logs, posting contracts, really getting to touch everything except the money and the schedule. And then I'd take all of that and I'd walk back out in the field and, hey buddy, his name was Buddy. Buddy, what are we tracking, right? And where do you need me? And it was hey, we need to go check on these guys. And I'd walking around making sure that, paint colors were right and the stuff that we're putting in was correct and matched the submittal. And so, fast forward, 10 years, and I'm here, and we actually have people for those roles. And so to be able to go, okay, this is what you're looking for. When you go dig through a submittal, the superintendent's going to care these things. Like when you go out in the field and you're going to go look at it, this is what you're tracking. This is going to make my life better if you know what's going on.
You were a builder. You weren't necessarily a PM or a super. You were like out there making it happen.
Yeah, I touched a lot of it.
Do you feel like that, and it sounds like that skill set kind of allowed you to develop into a more mature position more quickly? Is that a safe statement to make?
Yeah, I guess so. I feel like I'm certainly more well-rounded in the things that I've seen, in the experiences in the job, in the projects that I have touched. Like I've got a really strong underground utility background from my time that I spent with there, and with that group, learned a lot of things from old hand utility guys that have been at it for, combined total probably like 85 years, and to just to sit down and like ask some like really dumb questions and then listen to the war story answer that you're going to get, you learn a lot in that. And so but then to be able to tell the war story of I did this and it didn't go well, it helps to be able to tell that story now, and then to a younger generation, it kind of helps put some flavor for what it is that we're asking for, right? It gives it a little bit different context, because then you're like, oh, okay, it plays out differently. Then, well, I got to check this piece of paper and check, and but the checks actually add up to something,
right? It ties into a real world thing.
It turns into something tangible.
Yeah, these aren't just a checklist or the 3-phase quality inspections or the first work in place inspections. It's not just a check a box and go on type of thing. Like if you screw that up now, you might screw it up 40 more times on that same unit. So now it could have been an easy, hey guys, make sure you install the hinges the other way on the door to swing in or whatever.
Right.
It's turned into, well, now you're impacting schedule. You've got costs. You're calling someone back out. The owner's looking at you because you're borderline incompetent. You're frustrating trade partners that thought they were done with this. So I think, whenever people see those real world consequences, it puts some weight to it. And it's really, at least in my experience, difficult to get that weight, that real world tangible value without people being involved with it.
Exactly. And I think it goes back to that. If you can explain why this is important and then work through the ripples of why it's important, right? Then when they get out in the field, they've got some of that knowledge kind of floating around in their head. So then they're thinking back on stories and things that you've said and trying to help them understand what it is that they're looking at. And so then they can start processing some of those critical ideas a little bit better. They can get in the second and that third ring of, okay, well, if I didn't do this right, then that affects this, and then that affects this. And so it's not everybody's going to get it on the first go, second or third, right? But I think you get there. If you're paying attention and you're legitimately trying, then you'll get there.
You can only screw something up so many different ways before you figure out all the ways to do it wrong.
Exactly. And then you're like, that's the way to do it. That's the only way to do it.
Good old Edison approach, right? So you're off working at RGC. You're doing some absolutely bananas Denny's flips and all that.
Yeah.
How'd you end up at RO from that side of the world?
Shit, I don't know. I don't think we have enough time to cover like career history, but I started out building restaurants. Very first thing I ever built is at the corner of Stastny and Knuckles Crossing, which was a trip because it was where 3 different gang neighborhoods came together. And I thought for sure I was going to, like, that was it. I wasn't going to make it past that job. I was going to get caught in the crossfire or something, but the gangland gods blessed a church's chicken. And they said, hey, time out, boys. Truce. We're not going to tag it. We're not going to shoot it. We're not going to throw bricks through it. Made it through that unscathed. still look back and I don't know how in the hell that happened.
If church can't pull the community together, church is chicken will.
That's right. It's thank you for that. But I went on to do that one and a couple of more restaurants, and then the recession hit, and went on to work for Chesco and was with them for 5 years, and that's where I got to be a part of the Concordia relocation move, and then the A&M Health Science Center in Round Rock, and a whole bunch of other things along the way. And then I got to touch Samsung, and I'll never touch it again.
The Palmer facility.
Yeah. It's the ninth ring of hell. We can talk about that off air. Yeah. Over drinks.
Noted.
But so after them, it was floated around to a couple of different places, and I was really just looking for like a real fit. I had gone to work for a group, and the project was in Killeen, and it wasn't large, but it was their traffic department facility. So it was a brand new building, had some cool stuff to it. But the PM that started it was there for about, 6 weeks, 12 weeks, something like that. And he says, "Hey, I'm leaving." And I went, "What?"
That's not a great sign.
It's not cool. So he left, but he stayed in touch, which was cool. He lived up in that area. So every couple of months I'd see Brad just swing by, like, "Hey man, how's it going?" Just check in. And I was like, that's nice of you. Hey, the guy that replaced you is an idiot. What do you think about this? And he always had, little nuggets of truth, and like, well, you consider this. And so I did a couple more projects with that group, and Brad had gone on to work for a different GC, and he said, "Hey, I got this project over here, and you'd be really good for it if you're interested in making a move." I thought, yeah, because it was at Applied Materials, and it was we renovated Building 30. It had previously been a clean room. We yanked out all the process piping, infilled the slab with beams and girders.
Oh wow!
Poured concrete over it, turned it into a warehouse facility. Became their central hub for warehousing all their little widgets and stuff like that. And it was awesome. It was a great job. And stuck with that outfit for a little bit. And then a buddy of mine, he said, "Hey, I went to go work for this owner developer. We're building this senior living, luxury senior living thing over here." It wasn't far from the house. It sounded attractive from kind of your own in-house GC working for a guy building a couple of projects. And I'm like, okay. But then I don't, that's where I got my first taste of stick framing. Was a glutton for punishment on that one. I was closer to the house, which meant I could work for another hour and a half or maybe 2.
Funny how that one works out.
And I still end up at this home at the same time with a higher level of stress. It was tough. I think that's really the only project that I did not see till the end. It still kind of haunts me a little bit, but it was the right time to go. But I was unhappy. I'd been there for 18 months, and it was just every day was a kick in the face. Now that's more of a punch. But so Brad, same guy, calls me up and says, "Hey, I got this other thing going. It's
You're a little suspect to Brad at this point."
No, I'll reveal who Brad is at the end of this. So Brad calls me up. He says, "Hey, I got this other thing. It's a student housing job. It's in West Campus. It's this would be good for you. I think this would go well." So I was actually in the neighborhood for a funeral. So I show up to the job trailer. I'm in funeral suit, and I've got all of my work stuff with me. And I was like, let's go take a walk. So we walked down the block to the job, and just half of a hole in the ground. They were still taking it down because it had a underground parking to it. And we talked through it, and I said, yep, let's do it. So I think I started a week later. He had needed to fire the superintendent who was on there. Oof. And so he was looking for a replacement, and I'm evident top of his superintendents to replace shitty superintendents list, which is always
list to be on, but
I don't, it just beats not being on a list at all, though. Anyways, it's so Brad Aycock and I did that job together, and it was it's the same owner that we're building the 30-story at 24th and Rio for, but so that Brad and I have been friends for 10 years or more, just checking in, either working together, like, hey, what you doing over there? Yeah. You happy? Like, but we did that job, and it had we went down 55 feet in the ground, solid rock, for the parking garage. Then it rained, not all at one time, but we picked up like 55 rain days in that.
Like 2014, 15 area? Yeah, that was across the street. I remember that.
Yeah, that was 16, spring of 16 through move-in in 17. But 5 stories down, 6 stories up, podium, five levels of framing, and it was crazy. It's one of those that, like, you drive past it and you're like, I did that. How did that not kill me? How did I not kill somebody on that job? From take you out in the alley and back and just beat you senseless. Not from a safety standpoint.
Right.
But that one was tough. So anyway, I did that gig, and that was the one at the end of it. I got this email. I'm laying in bed. I think I'd worked probably one of those 17-hour days, like at the very end, and laying in bed, and I got this email via LinkedIn, and it was from a recruiter. It says, hey, I was looking at your LinkedIn profile, and you may be a good fit. Are you interested in a call? And I'm like, fuck yeah, I'm interested in a call. I'm 3 bad days in a row. I'm exhausted. Like, I got to wake up in 4 hours to make the drive in to try to beat traffic. Like, I'm toast. I needed something that was going to treat me better than what I currently was. And it was for RO. That phone call was from an outside recruiter for RO. And I mean, I walked into the interview knowing only what I read on the website, which looked good, sounded like it was in the vein of what I was looking for, and thought, doesn't hurt to have a conversation. And then the rest was easy. I sat down and talked to Alan, and then I did my second interview. Denny was in the hole at Plaza, yeah. And so we went riding around together, and I'm asking a question about soil nails and how far down he's going, and what's the bench look like over here, and just all these things. And I remember Denny told me later, and he reminds me of it too. He's like, I remember that conversation, and I think the recollection is, he said, I think you can walk, or you can talk the talk. I wonder if you can actually walk the walk. And that's for Denny to say that anybody sounds like they know what the fuck they're talking about. I feel like that's high praise to start with. But then to be able to step into a space and prove what I can do, that's been everything these last couple of years.
Man, well, that's a heck of a ride to get here from a recruiter.
Shit, you run through a recession, and I realize that some of the young kids, they've not seen a recession. They've been high on a bubble right now, and some of those older guys that have, ridden the wave a little bit. You're like, it's kind of like there's a storm coming, and you got a bad need that tells you, like, oh, it's gonna rain. I think old superintendents have the same thing about what the market is wanting to do, or how much backlog we have, or where we're going to go after this job, and that bad knee doesn't really act up on me here. But like, you pay attention long enough, and you're like, what in the hell is going on on a global or Texas level?
You definitely kind of feel it in the air whenever you start seeing a lot of vacancy signs for commercial space and all that. And
right. Or you finish an office building and they can't figure out how to like lease it up.
Right.
When
we don't have a tenant yet. Don't worry about it. Just blank slate it.
It'll be fine. So
yeah,
that's the ride.
It'll be interesting to see how that kind of everything shakes out over the next couple of years, and if it gets worse before it gets better. And I'd like to think that someone has a crystal ball and can say, this is how it's going to go. And I just don't think I can trust anyone on it. You know what
man,
I mean?
my crystal ball's been in the shop since '99. So
well, what happened in '98 then is my question.
No, it's evidently I didn't get the update for Y2K, and so like it just permanently took a shit. I keep looking at it. It doesn't do it, and so I pick up my magic 8-ball and shake that around a little bit and see if it'll tell me it's a lion fucker too. Yeah. So,
oh man, well, I'm happy you're here.
I'm happy to be here.
However
I got
ridiculously,
here. Man, it's a road, right? Some people, some of the stories of like I heard Alan and Cisco talk about how they got here. Like Alan straight out of college, and Cisco was somewhere else, and then he came here, and you got guys that been here from the beginning, or from their beginning, and are lifers through and through. And then you get guys like me that took a little bit to get here. I love trading war stories with Charlie Hamilton, because a lot of the stuff, like after I'd been here about a year or so, figured out that Mick and Denny had done applied materials, and I think the building that I had done.
Oh wow.
So I'm chasing Denny's shadow in that one, right? And then an architect from a different job, Rogers Bryan Faulkner had done an extensive amount of work with, and so like there was a shared people in that. Like I didn't know it, but I'm slowly getting my way here just by virtue of the people that I knew, the projects that I had worked on. Like, okay, it was a spotty path, but I got here.
Had that wave pushing you all along towards that one.
You just need a little momentum,
point.
Right?
Man, whenever you're not out there doing 17-hour days, which hopefully you're doing far fewer
these
now,
days. Yeah.
What do you like to do for fun? What's a good weekend for you?
Man, a good weekend is going to be chilling with my boys. My oldest is 15. See, today's actually Monday, but this is going to air on Wednesday. So he turns 15.
Nobody knows.
Sorry. So this is Wednesday. Today is Cooper's birthday.
Yeah. Happy birthday, Cooper.
Yeah, happy birthday, bud. And that was a good day. My father-in-law at the time brought a 6-pack into the labor and delivery room after Cooper had shown up, and so we were drinking beer and listening to it was the Aggie home opener, and we were just listening on the radio. Cooper is hours old, and we're drinking beer and hanging out. So that memory is fun.
Did you give him some of the little cans, like the little 6-ounce soda cans?
He didn't get any of that.
Heineken Zero or something?
No, a Heineken Zero didn't exist back then. So, shit, I forgot where I was going with that. What was the question again?
A good weekend.
Oh, good weekend. I'm hanging out with them. Like, I'm really into music, and Cooper has spent so much time with me that he is too. And Cam, who's the second one, the middle one now, he is too, but only if it's rock. And so he kind of does his own thing. But when we're all when it's the three of us, and for a little bit there it was like we had some really good like intentional quality time. And then when it's all of us together now, when it my wife Erica and Jack is 6 months. Like when we're all together, it's just they're all spaced out in age. The difference between Cooper and Cam's 5. Cam to Jack is nearly 10 years, and so like to watch them all interact with him and interact with them, all 5 of us together, like it's just cool. Like neither one of them are really into sports. Cooper loves to watch F1, so we'll we completely cannibalized the Netflix documentary for F1 during COVID twice. I think he watched it with me, and then he watched it with his granddad too. So he'll start rattling off stats and drivers for who, and all of this, and I'm like, great, love it. You just keep on it, right? But here recently, I got a record player for my birthday,
like a vinyl player.
Vinyl,
okay,
and with it came a handful of records, and that was on a Sunday, and so Monday we loaded up and went down to Waterloo and just picked through everything. Then my parents showed up with 2 boxes of their vinyl from way back in the day. Hadn't been unpacked since 1988. No joke. When my folks moved from Dallas to Houston in 88, they packed up the vinyl, and then it sat in my closet as a kid until they moved out of that house in 07, and then it went to their new house. And so anyways, unboxed that and found my granddad's collection of Hank Williams Sr. and Bob Wills and his Texas Playboys, and
goodness.
Just like all this stuff that first presses, and like
literal treasure trove.
Yeah, like early 50s in pristine shape, and so now they're mine. So Cooper and I will be like, all right, what are we listening to right now? Are we listening to Hank Sr.? Are we going to listen to the Waylon? Or we've gone back to Waterloo I think twice since then, and just picked up hey, what can we find, and what do we feel like today? I don't think I've walked out of Waterloo for less than 150 any time that I've gone. So yeah, between the boys and just fat chilling and listening to vinyl spin, those are my hobbies right now.
Are you full into it with the tube amps and all that too, or do you
not yet? Like it's still like it's a beginner setup, but
okay.
It's perfect for me and for what I want to do right now. So
there you go.
I just want to spin music. That's it.
I've got some audiophile friends, and you go over to their house, and like if you want to listen to music there, it's like a whole thing. Like it's 2 hours of setup to get it dialed in. It's like, dude, I just wanted to hang out, drink a beer, and listen to music. You didn't have to go through all this.
Cooper, that first week that I had it, I was. Granted, there wasn't the assortment of vinyl that we have right now, but we were listening to Tyler Childers and Townes Van Zandt, Robert O'Keefe, their Biggie's greatest hits got thrown in there, Nirvana's MTV Unplugged, I'm eclectic in what I like to listen to, and so like a lot of everything that we've got is reflective of that. So it's like, what do you feel like right now? Well, Jack's got to go to sleep in a little bit, so let's put on Nirvana, and then we'll ride that up to nap time, and then we can play something a little bit more chill. But
love it.
Yeah,
planning the record plays around the nap time and all that,
right? Because when he's up and he wants to play, then you can put on Metallica, and you can turn it up, and like it doesn't matter, that. The music's crazy and he's crazy. Everybody's crazy together.
Great parody, right? Yeah. Everyone's on the same wavelength.
That's right.
That's awesome. That's so fantastic here out there, just enjoying some vinyl with the kids, and enjoying life's offerings. Yeah. No sense to overcomplicate it, right?
Right.
I want to get you a little bit before we run out of time talking about the PTP cards. So going back to, I don't even remember when that was. Was that, I think it was fall of last year, if I'm not mistaken, fall of 22.
Yeah.
We had an Innovation Station Challenge around, and this was hosted by the OpEx department. So shout out to Mr. Jonathan Grammer and his team for thinking this up and all that. But they were looking for picking a process and refining it, if I'm not mistaken. and you had submitted the idea of, well, this whole PTP card thing, I think the way we're going about it doesn't make a lot of sense.
Right.
Can you kind of take me through why that particular item seemed like something that really needs some attention from your viewpoint?
I like things to be efficient, and that seemed like it wasn't at all. Like it wanted to be, it needed to be. I think be able to track it and turn it into like measurable things for how we're approaching the work. Like it needed to do a better job of that. But in all of my experience was, okay, Mr. Foreman, go fill this out. I'm going to look at it, and then I'm going to scan it, and I'm going to go put it in a folder, both digitally and file it away somewhere that nobody's ever going to look at it again. And to ask somebody to walk through that and to use it out in the field, it's one thing, but for it to just essentially die in a folder somewhere didn't make any sense to me. So, that challenge came out, and I was thinking like, what do I hate doing the most? Turns out it was PTP cards. But it wasn't
and
just
people agreed.
Yeah. And it wasn't just me doing the PTP cards, but it was also watching at TA Brown, and Busker would like come and file that stuff. And when we got to Rosedale, it was both Ann and Paul Roberts would tag team that as far as, hey, we've got them all for the subs. We've looked at them, they've scanned in, and here's where they all live. It was just an enormous time suck on people that I needed doing other more important things.
Yeah, the less transactional things.
Right. And so I was like, I want to fix this. I want to do something different. And the burn your PTP card, well, I mean, that's just good marketing strategy. You need something to like catch some people's attention, and
definitely,
like, I'm a pyro at heart. Let's go set some shit on fire. So I don't know. That's how it got there. Nice.
What is kind of, you know what? I was going to ask your ideal process, but it's there. You wrote it out. You did a great job.
I had a couple of ideas, and like Nick Vargo and the rest of the OPEX, like they did a fantastic job going to find stuff that fit with what my ideas were. And then we had done a couple of working sessions where bigger groups of people were invited, and they had some really good ideas for what they had seen, what they'd implemented on their jobs, what they thought would work great. So like I came up with like the spark, but other people took it and turned it into fire. And Nick, I can't, that dude, he really turned that into something, like with what he found with Nifty and trying to like simplify even the login and getting people signed in and then the PTP card. Like that's, I mean, all of that is way beyond what I had intended for burning your PTP card.
It's the benefit of having those support departments such as OPEX and quality. Whenever you have those pointed issues, it's no longer, well, I'm out on a project team and I've got to figure this out.
Right.
It's let me go to the experts that know how to do quality, that know how to do research, that know how to do operational excellence. Hand this off to them, and they're going to find a solution that's hopefully much better than what you would have come up with on your own. And then not only help your project out, but spread that gospel across the company.
Exactly.
So if you had to choose, do you think it's better to try something and fail at it? Or is it better to be conservative, not try new things, but also never have to suffer a failure?
It is better to try and fail than to never try at all. So growth comes from failure. Try to do something, it doesn't work. Fuck it, try something different, right? You're gonna figure out how to get around whatever is in your way if you keep trying to get around it. But if you just let that obstacle be an obstacle, then you're never going to go anywhere. There's no growth. You're stagnant and you're dead. So I want to try all the things and figure out how can we do this better. If that didn't work, was it something that we did that didn't make it better, or can we evolve in that? Like we got a little further, but not as far as we wanted to. How do we improve on it? And I always want to ask ourselves, how do we improve on it? I get to the end of a job and be like, okay, I know I did on the last one, I said I wasn't going to do it this way, and so I did it this way. did that work better for me? Yes, it did, or no, it didn't, right? And okay, if it did, can I improve on it still to where it's less painful? So if we're not asking ourselves that question, in real time on our jobs, and we're not being honest with ourselves or with the team or with the company as a whole, then what are we doing? I want to keep asking that question. I want to keep getting better.
That's one of those things I love about you is you're constantly looking at everything with a critical eye and assessing, is there a better approach to this? And never had the pleasure of working with you on a project with VDC or anything like that, but
Yeah.
I see and I hear we were never too far off of one another.
No, exactly.
And I think that's one of those things that's irreplaceable. That is why the people are worth more. It's a sum of the parts type of thing. Because you start pulling those people in, and all of a sudden you're fixing other people's issues without even them knowing it, because someone else saw from a distance. I think we could be doing this better.
Exactly.
Or I had this pain point, and I see it replicated across these other projects types or what have you.
Yeah, and the more at promoting into the senior spot, it allows me to move around and to see other teams and just hang out and visit. And so you see different interactions and be like, oh, I want to fix that. Like it that is different than that over there, and they ought to be the same so that we're all getting the same ride, because the RO ride applies to us as employees as much as it does to the owner or architect that we're partnered with. And so if team A is having a different experience than team B, and it's still different than team C, then some process is not being communicated right, or maybe it's something specific to the job or to whatever they're dealing with. Like, it should generally look the same across the board. And if it's not, then be like, why not? Can we fix that?
Well, let's make your life as good as that person's
right.
life.
If C is winning, all things, like, but A is sucking, I'm like, why? Why can't it be like C? Let's figure that out.
I love that. Yeah. That's the beauty of construction to me, is because it's constantly a challenge. You could have those same three teams and say they're all doing great, all of a sudden have some sort of new sector of work that we're operating within, or a new client we're working with, or whatever. And you gotta solve that puzzle all over again. It's
right.
Okay, well, this sucks now. We're not making money. We're behind on schedule. Everyone's miserable. What happened? What is it that's different about this project from everything else we've done that's caused us to all these pain points? Let's figure it out. And let's find some fixes.
Right, exactly. And I think it boils down to being willing to have the conversation, an honest conversation with yourself, going, man, today sucked. Why did today suck? But also be able to look at your team and say, this doesn't feel like it's going well. What's not clicking? What can I do better? What can we do better as a team? And I think there's just a lot of vulnerability that we can improve upon. I know some people hear that in like 4-letter word, and it's not. I think it's just it's a deep understanding of honesty with yourself and with the team, to have a good conversation about what you want to fix.
Definitely. I'd encourage anyone out there, if they are in those positions where they, if they're equating that vulnerability to that 4-letter word, a 4-letter word, sounds rough, but like, find a way around it. Think about it. You know what I mean? I think that's almost an easy way out to say, you know what, whatever. I'm just not going to deal with this. I'm not going to address it. But you're holding yourself back, and you're holding others back as well.
Right.
So, there's plenty of people out in the company in each region to reach out to, people like yourself. We've got the field directors now as well.
Exactly.
So as folks on the superintendent side of things that feel like they don't have a good representative, those guys are out there to advocate for you, help you out, find ways to make things better. So definitely leverage your resources.
Yeah. Know who your friends are. Right. And it doesn't have to be your field director or your superintendent, but you could just have a bud that happens to be, a PM or, another superintendent or somebody different, and be like, I feel like I'm struggling right now. Like, what do you think? And being able to have an honest conversation with someone, and maybe that someone will point you in a better direction and help you through whatever it is you're struggling with.
On a totally unrelated note.
Sure.
If you could travel back to any historical period
Oh, Jesus.
and hang out, where and when are you going? And why?
So you, I asked nicely twice for some questions like ahead of time because I was nervous to what some of my answers would be. And so I was reading this one yesterday and I read it out loud to my wife. There was another one like period, and it was something else. And she's like, how in the hell are you going to answer either one of those? And I said, that's a great question because I'm a history nut. I got a minor in history. So
you
like
think this got on there accidentally?
Yeah. So I'm like, God dang, like how am I going to answer this?
Well, this is why your answer has so much validity. Like if we have Dr. Fritz come out here, PhD in environmental engineering, civil engineering, whatever, he's going to be like, history. What does that mean?
Right.
But someone like yourself that actually has a good comprehensive understanding of it, like the world, or at least the company, wants to know, like, where are you trying to go and why? Because I might want to go there as well.
I think I'm going to Woodstock.
Like the original Woodstock,
the original,
upstate.
not 99. No, we're not. We're not going back to Limp Bizkit does Woodstock in 99. We're gonna go back to the original. Let's see, it would have just passed, but it was 14th, 15th, and 16th, August 14th, 15th, and 16th of 69. You had like musical icons that would go on. Shortly thereafter, they would die from substance abuse issues. Janis, Jimmy, the Doors weren't there, but Jim Morrison would die later. But like just that group that played, like Santana was there, Jimmy played Sunday Morning. What's that guy's name? I forget. Like they were only known by like the cassette or the 8-track that somebody had heard as a demo, and they got invited to play. And you got all these people. My wife was like, now Woodstock, did they come there for the music or did they come there for the drugs? And I honestly believe they came for the music and they just happened to be doing the drugs. Because I think that was the movement, right? It was like rock and roll was changing, the whole sound, the country was divided on political and social issues.
Boy, that's an understatement.
Yeah, and so it was just a really interesting time period. The music was just crazy, and that would be if I could go to Woodstock and like experience all of that. I think that would be really cool because it's the stuff that I grew up listening to with my dad, driving around, listening to the oldie station in Houston, and so like I knew most of that music as well as my dad did or does, and so I was just like I would go back there. I would jam.
Nice.
I'd keep my clothes on and I wouldn't do the drugs, but I would enjoy the music.
I could see you out there with the
maybe
hand jamming a bit.
Yeah, I would. I don't know. I don't know about all of that. I definitely would not climb the speaker. Thing that they had set up in the lightning storm. I wouldn't do that.
Someone was accusing them of the highest of IQs. But
yeah, well,
they were having a hell of a time.
Yeah, he was way high on something. Way high in the air, way high in life.
All the above.
Yeah.
Oh, that's some good fun. Yeah, Woodstock. Man, I wouldn't. That would have been very far from any guess I would have had. So that's.
What if you had a guess? Where do you think I would go?
That. Very, very difficult, but I would have thought like King Louis or something like that, or maybe go catch one of Churchill's speeches, like 3940.
Yeah, I mean, those are all good. Like, I don't know that I'd really want to be anywhere around the French Revolution, but listening to Churchill or JFK or any of those great orators from back in the day. And to hear that stuff firsthand, that would be impressive. I thought about going back to, like some campaign stump speech, Lincoln or one of the early, like when they actually rode around on a train and stood up on a stump.
And you're a history guy, so you'll probably know more than I do, but there was I can't remember who it was that Lincoln was debating. It was whoever he was running for his first term. And it was set up. It was like a multiple day long deal where they would go for like 3 hours and like take a break, eat lunch, then come back and continue their debate.
Right.
And just to think of that as compared to the modernized version where it's, I haven't watched it, it's, 45 minutes or whatever with commercials on TV, and you've got 13 people going around sharing their bit. It's crazy to think how much more detailed they had to be within that time frame, and the amount of information they had to deliver relative to today.
Not even the information they had. The thing that I miss, that I love from that time period versus what we've got now, is that they were still gentlemen, that they could have civil discourse, they could disagree, they could do so loudly and wildly, but they still held themselves to a high bar of how they were going to treat each other. Now it's a 3-ring circus, where it's who can yell the loudest or who can make the most random comment, or
get the sound bites, the TikTok clips or whatever.
Exactly. And that's not, I think that's where we've gotten away from, is that we don't possess the ability to really communicate with one another anymore in a civilized fashion. And I think that's like when you look at the time of Lincoln versus the time of now, like Lincoln, he's rolling over in that grave. He's like, that's not what we were going for back in the day.
I have a hard time too deciphering whether or not there seems to be this very tight bond of a person and their ideas. And I can't tell if it's people that find their value in their ideas, so whenever someone attacks their ideas, they feel offended, or if it's the outside people, if people look at a person and their ideas and say, well, that's one thing. They can't, distinguish from an idea, a concept, a thought, which might change, mature over time, and all that, versus the person who is a physical being with emotions and feelings and all those.
Yeah, I mean, to be able to look at a person and be able to have a conversation with them and disagree with them about, or agree with them, right, I think it's really important to be like, you are the person, but you are not necessarily your ideas. You have ideas, they can change, they certainly mature over time. The way that I voted when I turned 18, or the reasons how I voted when I was 18, drastically different now that I'm 40. So that comes with maturity and experience, and what has happened to you in life. But I'm still me, right? And you may not agree with which way I lean politically, but like, I'm still going to show up to work. I'm still going to be one of the first. The game is, I'm going to be the first one there. I'm still going to work my ass off, and I'm still going to treat you with a level of respect that that's required in order to make that world go around. You want to talk politics? Let's talk politics. But when we're done, we're going to set that aside and we're going to go to work, and we're going to do what we need to do.
So I can't remember where I heard it, but forever ago I heard a quote that a gentleman is someone who is never unintentionally rude. And I feel like that's something that, to your point, is just often overlooked in modern days.
It's just lost.
People would prefer to be rude than to cater a message to someone in a respectful and meaningful way.
It's probably an art form that is remembered by only a few and seldom practiced by the masses.
Before we get out of here, Mr. Lucas, what would you tell young Thomas? What advice would you give him?
Patience is a virtue. Communicate more, even when that's hard or scary. I look back and I think of times where I'm like, oh, I didn't say that because I was worried about how it was going to be interpreted, or how the other person was going to react. And ultimately, I I didn't say what I should have, and it all fell apart anyways. So just say what you mean, communicate that, and then probably the strongest one for the 19-year-old to 37-year-old me, 39-year-old me. Booze does not really fix anything. It will temporarily relieve your affliction, but it does not actually solve anything.
There we go. We made it.
Hot damn.
We're here. First time we've tried this approach. We did it. Thank you to everyone out there catching this. A little secret, this isn't live. We recorded this 2 days ago by the time you're watching it, which is a real mind trip on our end, but we're trying some different things to make it a little easier for people to get in here, a little easier on me, the guys back there running the cameras and the audio and all that. So sorry it's not live, but I feel like it's a similar experience for you guys because, again, you don't know. It still comes out Wednesday at 1. Thank you, Mr. Lucas, for coming on board.
Thanks for having me. It's fun.
Those folks that are out there, be a sponge. Stop by the Church's Chicken on Stastny and Knuckles Crossing if you want to see.
I actually wouldn't recommend that. I was in there a couple of years ago. It is not held up to time very well.
It was well aged at this point.
Yeah.
And be patient. Find patience in all things in life, and it'll pay dividends to you.
There you go.
And we'll be back next Wednesday with yet another guest, and look forward to talking with them. Have a good one, everybody.
See ya.
Good job.